the idea is like, you need to pursue truth for truth's sake. You need to drop this idea that it's going to get you anything, right? And that's kind of a tough sell. But sometimes it'll be like, well, the spiritual path is going to lead to enlightenment. It's going to lead to liberation and all this stuff. And somebody may ask, like, all right, fine. That sounds nice. I'm actually been suffering a little bit, and some peace sounds nice.
Yeah.
What do I got to do? And it's like, well, there's the thing. Stop doing. You're not doing anything. You're accepting.
Yeah.
You're accepting. All right, folks. Most of the videos I start by saying, welcome modern day mystics. And you might be wondering, what is a mystic? And I just wanted to kind of like bone up on that again this week. I went searching on YouTube and I just like looked up, what is a mystic?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what the definition is.
And the first video that hit me was this one, which is done by Raise the World Project Now. And it's short and sweet, man. 4 minutes, and it like nailed all the points. I was like, oh, yeah. So I thought, we could watch this video, react to it, and, just give our best assessment of what we take out of it. Cool.
Mysticism is the experience of union or direct awareness of ultimate reality. It is the belief that conscious knowledge of God, spiritual truth, or non-duality can be attained through subjective experience. Mysticism is predominantly known as becoming one with God, or the Absolute. But it also refers to positive human transformation, supported by various spiritual practices and experiences. Mysticism originally refers to the spiritual and contemplative dimensions of early and medieval Christianity, where seekers of Christ, truth, and God went within and reported extraordinary experiences and states of mind.
I wonder if people think about that when they like Christians know about this, because we grew up in a traditional Christian house, and we never heard of mysticism. We never heard of mystics, and yet it seems that it stems from this. And whereas when you think of say evangelical Christianity or Catholicism or something like that, it's all built around beliefs. And this, what we're learning here, is that this is all about experience. The opposite.
Yeah.
Opposite.
Yeah. No. I'm glad you said the word beliefs.
And it's almost like the biggest impediment to Christians' experience as a Christian is belief. And there's songs that are like, believe, and you gotta believe. But how do I put it? I feel like I'm something that I've been learning, thank God, finally in my life, or thank whatever, is the idea that one of the biggest impediments to peace is something like beliefs and attachment, and everything you do to try to pursue something or grasp something. It's all like a hanging on and a grabbing. And then there's this, and you don't realize all the things you're building up to cope with your reality, or chase something, or be hopeful about something. And then, if I don't know about going inward or whatever, but it's almost like I have found as of recently a shedding of even the things that got me to this place. Let me just unbelieve all that stuff. Let me just not believe anything and accept what is. I have found some progress there. We were talking about it before this, right? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying. It's not like I don't think beliefs have their place, but it might be almost like there's kind of like a hierarchy, and you need to maybe put experience over top of your belief systems, and maybe examine that more, give that maybe a higher place on the shelf than maybe beliefs.
Right. Because it can be distracting believing things. And by the way, not believing things isn't the same as okay, so just because you don't choose to believe something doesn't mean you don't
accept it as a possibility.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So there's like an important distinction there. Maybe you can help me narrow down that distinction, because I don't want to be full of crap. I don't want to be a charlatan here. I have had some important, feel like, lessons recently, but this is like one of the last videos we've done, and I feel like I'm burning out a little bit. But can you help me narrow that down? The difference between believing something actively and then projecting that belief out on the world,
versus the experience itself,
versus kind of getting that belief out of the way, actually, to experience.
Yeah, it's so hard. That is like a major.
Why is that so hard to communicate?
Yeah, it's so, no, I hear what you're saying. No, it's hard to do in practice because your beliefs are like etched in to you.
Think about it. You could be exhausted. You could create a veneer of peacefulness, but you're going to be wiped by the end of the day. Everybody's going to think you're real peaceful. You're going to walk around and be like, how are you? But you're going to be tired because it's not, if it's fake, Sometimes that's probably the appropriate thing to do, especially like I'm doing a bit of it right now because we're doing this for an audience, right? Yeah. But there's a difference between aping something, acting something out, believing in something, and then actually experiencing a thing.
Yeah.
And I have found it's like a very important step, I think, is letting go a little bit and accepting the reality and the possibility of things, right?
No.
If you're rigid about something and somebody comes along and is like, hey, you need to let Jesus into your heart, and you're like, you've got like some beliefs around that, you probably aren't going to have much of a chance allowing that to really penetrate and happen.
Yeah.
But if you don't believe in anything, man, I've gone on a crazy rant here.
It's okay. It's
Rein
good.
it in.
We'll keep it. We'll keep going.
In modern times, mysticism is seen to be found in all religions and spiritual traditions, as it simply refers to the inward search for truth and reality by whatever name. All traditions agree that such a movement is possible, desirable, and available to everyone. The seeking of illumination, Bodhi, Kensho, Nirvana, liberation, enlightenment, self-realization, and even salvation can all be described as mystical pursuits. The spiritual words are just concepts, all pointing to the same thing: spiritual awareness of the ineffable absolute is beyond the theology of divine names, concepts, or exclusivity. The kingdom of heaven, the Holy Spirit, your Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, the Supreme, are all labels pointing to the inner mystical dimension of ultimate truth and reality.
So I was imagining somebody right now that might be watching this that is been a Buddhist their whole life or been a Christian their whole life, and maybe they are getting a glimmer of what we're talking about, and they're like, okay, fine, all right, let me try to unbelieve what I believe and just make a quantum leap and have it happen. And you were talking about years ago, before we started, when you first started meditation, and you were like, it was a big process of like acceptance, like allowing the darkest things to come in, and like,
accepting reality, accepting some of the harshnesses of reality.
Counterintuitively, liberation seems like a good word, and I don't know if there's stages to enlightenment. Like, I think I've heard something to allude to that, and that we all enter into different, you make your way there, like a journey. But it feels like an important step is what you talked about, which is something that I guess I'm getting a little bit of experience in myself now, is like this deep acceptance of reality. Like, stop fighting it. Stop warring with it. Stop doing all the things you're doing to like build a wall between you and trauma sometimes.
Yeah.
A wall between you and everything you don't understand and are afraid of.
We've talked about this before. It's more of like a letting go and surrendering to it.
Surrender. That's another good word.
Than it is to like trying to like
get it.
Staple it down. Yeah, get it.
I
Get
did
it. Like
4 hours of meditation this week. It's like, well, what were you doing? I was imagining me enlightened for 4 hours. Like, man, you're probably get a headache.
yeah.
But if instead you see the thing that you don't want to be so much, and rather than fighting it, and rather than grappling with it, you're just like, you know what? If that's true, I accept it. Like, I don't even know if it is true.
I feel like it's beneficial the earlier you can hear about this stuff, because it seems like as you get older, you kind of naturally get it because you're exhausted. As you get older, you get exhausted with life. It's just part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start to be able to smell the flowers a little bit. You become just a little bit more aware of that stuff the older you get.
Mm-hmm.
Because, death is around the corner. And
Right.
so you're like, you're becoming more aware of that thing. And if you can get into a practice of just like being appreciative, and like it'll give you more time to, and it takes a while to build up a practice like that, because when you're young, you're just full of so much, I'm going to get the world and I'm going to, and you got all this stuff thrown at you, especially nowadays.
And especially when
This is like the most counterintuitive thing, is like when everything's going nuts and, it's girls and parties and this and that and like, go sit in your room and just ponder
Right.
as a teenager. Can you imagine?
I don't even know if that's appropriate time for everybody to start truth seeking. I don't know. But yeah, I agree. Maybe it's just because of the age we're at and stuff like that. You're a little more apt to be like, all right, let me try surrender a little bit. Here's a weird one. The idea of, this is such going to be a crazy thing to say. It was spiritual plutonium. But what if one of the things you encounter in your meditation practice, and you're doing this, going through this process of like deep acceptance and deep letting go of things, the thought comes up, well, what if there's no God? Like, what if there's no metaphysical?
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'll allow it. Like, that's okay. I'll allow it. Because you're in knots sometimes.
Well, it's the concept
sometimes
itself.
your beliefs have you by like reins. They enter your life as like hope, right? You lost. You want some answers? I got the answers for you. And then you start living a certain way by them.
Yeah.
But then you find some mystic scriptures where you're like, what is he saying here?
Yeah.
And they maybe allude to this thing,
Well, you can know for certain that the concept of God is not God.
Right. That was the thing I was thinking about this week. I was like, the label maker can't label itself.
Yeah.
There's no way for it to put a label on its own self, because that's one thing we do in this as humans, is we like label everything and we categorize everything. And I'm like, wait a minute. There's a certain level where that thing can't be labeled because it's the thing that's making all the labels.
Yeah.
It can't have a thing put on it, right? Yeah. I hope this is making sense. This is a very, it's kind of just sort of difficult to talk about, but I think the word liberation stuck out to there, and I think that might just be because I feel like I've, struggled with feeling not liberated, and sort of suffering a little bit in my life. And so for me, that's where I'm at. Is there further to go? Is there deeper experiences of mystical experiences where like, whoa, some people claim so.
Well, that's what we're doing here.
Mystics are those most dedicated, rare, and committed spiritual seekers who transcend established belief systems, bypass the intellect, and dissolve their identification with personal identity and ego. They cultivate experience through devotion, meditation, contemplation, prayer, surrender, and letting go. Conceptual understanding of spiritual truth does play an important part in the evolution of consciousness, as it leads to the discovery and yearning for union and true wisdom. The wisdom that comes only from direct realization. The enlightened mystic has achieved that in a very supreme way. The dedication to truth is the only requirement. God is both transcendent and immanent, omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. The great
A dedication to truth.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of a hard sell, I feel like sometimes.
Well,
Maybe in the West,
people are up for truth usually as long as it serves them.
What do I get out of it?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
But as soon as it doesn't serve people, that usually it usually gets the back burner. Like people don't want truth if it doesn't serve them.
Right. So think about it. Let's break this down a little bit. Somebody's like, okay, you're telling me about truth. I need to be dedicated to truth. What do I get out of it? All right, you're going to get liberation from all that agony you're living in. What agony? What are you talking about? You know, or you're going to have peace that passes all understanding. Sometimes I think maybe people don't even realize the struggle that they're in sometimes.
Well, and that makes me think that there's levels to it, whereas who knows if you're reincarnated over and over again. I don't know if everyone necessarily during this life cycle even has to have that pursuit. He even alluded to the fact that it's not very many. It's usually like a few people decide to take the path. And sometimes I wonder, like, how far am I willing to go? How far are you willing to go? You willing to go get truth, right?
Right, but there are levels to it, I think. But sometimes the idea is like you need to pursue truth for truth's sake. You need to drop this idea that it's going to get you anything, right? And that's kind of a tough sell. But sometimes it'll be like, well, the spiritual path is going to lead to enlightenment. It's going to lead to liberation and all this stuff. And somebody may ask, like, all right, fine. That sounds nice. I'm actually been suffering a little bit and some peace sounds nice.
Yeah.
What do I got to do? And it's like, well, there's the thing. You stop doing. You're not doing anything. You're accepting.
Yeah.
You're accepting. Instead bring to awareness all the things that you're doing to control the situation. You're pretty wrapped up in that job you got, or you're pretty wrapped up in that relationship, even to people that it makes sense for you to care about and be wrapped up with. It's like when they showed them in the cave meditating and going over those things and surrender, that's another word that stuck out. And I guess it's, I'm kind of egotistical and a little bit projecty right now because I'm in this mode of, from some of the things I've been learning recently.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on just all that?
No, exactly what I said. I stick with what I've said, where I feel like it's at levels and times, and timing is everything. Right. Some people, I don't think that they're not even ready. They're like, life almost has to like give you the opportunity to even come to a place where this can even become a possibility for you.
Right.
And then you make a choice whether or not it's something you're going to pursue or whether it's something you're just going, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. And you know what? Maybe that I don't think there's a right or a wrong to it. I think it's like, well, maybe in the next life, maybe in the next, you'll do it next time.
Yeah, and imagine trying to like get somebody to do something other than what they're doing, than what they believe is real,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's continue on.
Mystics of history are all in agreement with this fact. God is infinitely compassionate, loving, forgiving, merciful, peaceful, and benign. The source of all life and all of existence. Seek the truth, go within, and raise your level of consciousness.
Well, I think we said everything we need to say on that one. That was a great video. I'll leave links to Raise the World in the description box, and hopefully you learned something about mysticism. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and hey, everyone, until next time, stay spiritual.